Hello, 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 hello. It's Mrs. Brickson here, principal of St. Bernard's School, and this is number 7 of our St. Bernard's books with Mrs. Brickson. I can't even speak today. Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday. Thank you, Ellie. It's Wednesday, March 25th, and this is going to be our 7th one. We're going to be continuing reading our story and visiting. Mrs. Brickell has joined. Hello, Mrs. Brickell. I miss you very much. Very much. Oh, Aurora's on here too. Hello, Aurora. Hello. So we can get a few more people on. This has been crazy. It's been a very crazy day and evening for me last night. Yeah, it's been crazy. I threw out my back a little bit, so in a little bit of pain, but it's feeling better after a lot of stretching. More like a lot of pain. Oh, yep. Hello from Mrs. Brickell. Yes. Let's see who else we can get here today. Mrs. Zare is on. Mrs. Zare, Aurora is also on. I don't know if you saw that. So Aurora, your teacher's watching. And Levon, Axel, you guys were just on Facebook Live yourself. I just saw that. Okay, so Axel, here's a message for you. You need to listen to your mom. So yes, you have to listen. That goes for everybody. And so Axel, remember that. So see, Levon, we've got your back. Oh, we have Pat Gaffney. Hey, Pat. Oh, I hope you're feeling better. I hope your arm's feeling better and everything like that. Definitely. Oh yeah, I got the thumbs up from Levon. Yeah, so I was just telling them I had kind of twisted my back yesterday, and so yesterday was kind of tough. So, but that's okay. We have some pain medicine and lots of stretching. Lots and lots of stretching. You know. So it's just great to see everybody here today. And so I know we're going to get started here in about a minute or two. And I have my sippy cup so I can stay hydrated. I got this from In a Bone Camp. I was her confirmation sponsor. And I think I've been a confirmation sponsor, I think like 12 times, something like that. Anyways, see the L on it? And this is my favorite cup. Keeps things nice and cool. So Ellie apparently is going to be making. What kind of Kool-Aid is it, Ellie? I'm not sure. I want to give a special shout out today. I want to give a special shout out to Axel and his sister Gwen because they actually came to and they fulfilled the challenge. They did the outside challenge yesterday, and so they were able to put a little bit of food coloring with parents' permission, a little bit of food coloring like in a squirt bottle or soap bottle or whatever, and they were drawing pictures, like hashtag happy home or quarantine. And so that was really cool. So today it's a little cooler than yesterday, but Saturday it's supposed to be 53 degrees. 53 degrees. So let's get outside, you guys. Make sure we get outside. So again, the other thing I want to give a little shout out to is I'm going to give a shout out to Harlow Bragaman. And if you probably saw our with permission of her parents, let me post it on our Facebook site. And she was taking a sewing class, and she's making some like face masks that they're donating. And so that is a wonderful way for her to go make a difference. So what can you do? There's your challenge for today. What can you do to go make a difference? Maybe it's writing some cards for people in a nursing home or your own grandparents. FaceTime them if you can. Maybe it's shoveling a walk. Maybe it's just listening to your mom and dad when it's time to do homework or whatever the case may be. And so just think of how you can make a difference in small ways and in big ways. So with that, our joke, we're going to get started. I should have started this a little bit earlier, but here we go. We got to start with a little song. Oh, hold on a second. Ah! Hold on a second. I'm sorry, guys. Technical difficulties with Mrs. Brickson. Alrighty. One thing I want to show you today, take a look at this shirt. I think it's Mrs. DeMar's idea. Jesus is my superhero. She wore that on Superhero Day. And so she had, anyways, I wanted to put that out there. It was really cool. Another way you can make a difference is, did you know at 12 o'clock, about an hour ago, the Pope had, whoever could, encourage everybody to pray in Our Father and for to kind of fight this COVID-19 with the coronavirus. And so it was really cool because I got to sit here with Grace and Ellie, and we said in Our Father, and then Patrick got off of his meeting literally 30 seconds later, and he came up and said Our Father too. And you know, the thing is, it's not too late. You can still do it. Put a little prayer up there, saying, you know, to help our world kind of fight this. But with that, our joke of the day. See, technical difficulties. It doesn't want to behave for me. Okay, let's see if I can get this one to work. Our joke of the day. What do you call a man with a rubber toe? What do you call a man with a rubber toe? It's Roberto. Roberto. Yes. Man with a rubber toe, Roberto. These aren't great jokes, but they are jokes. So anyways, let's begin today with chapter 7. We're going to start with chapter 7. In fact, we bring up Luella again. Luella comes, remember Howard was her little brother, and they wrote all over his head with marker. So now we're going to hear a little bit more about Luella. When Luella McCluskey's mother went to work part-time at the telephone company, she let Luella babysit her little brother, Howard, again during spring vacation. "Just don't you let the Herdmans get him this time," she said. "He's got hair now, so they can't draw it all over his head. But I don't know what else they're going to do." Howard had hair all right, but it was no big improvement because it started way above his ears and grew straight up like grass. "If it was up to me," Luella said, "I'd shave his head and let him start all over again." "Just mention that to Leroy," I said. Luella turned pale. "My mother will kill me, and I'll never get to watch television or go to movies for the rest of my life." Luella kept Howard out of sight for the whole time, but when school started again, the regular babysitter quit. So Mrs. McCluskey got special permission for Luella to bring Howard to school. "Just for a few days," she said, "just until I find somebody else." Can you imagine trying to bring your little baby brother or sister to school? That would be hilarious. "Now what I'll do," Luella said, "I can't just learn compound fractions and watch out for Howard all at the time. He'll be right up there in the same room with Imogene Herdman." She was really worried. You couldn't blame her. And I wasn't too surprised when she showed up with Howard on a leash. Miss Kemp was pretty surprised, though. "Is that necessary, Luella?" she said. "After all, your little brother is our guest here in the 6th grade. Is that how we want to treat a guest class?" Some kids said no, but a lot of kids said yes, because they figured Howard was going to be a pain in the neck. So then Miss Kemp spent 10 minutes talking about manners and hospitality. But I guess she figured Howard might be a pain in the neck too, because she didn't make Luella untie him. She did make her get a longer leash, though, because Howard got knocked on his bottom every time he tried to get up and go somewhere. "He better learn not to do that," Imogene's herdman said. "Claude had to learn not to do that." Miss Kemp looked at her. "Not do what?" "Not to go past the end of his leash." Why was Claude on a leash? "Because we didn't have a dog," Imogene said. Miss Kemp frowned and sort of shook her head the way that you do when you've got water in your ears and everything sounds strange and far away. But she didn't ask to hear any more, and you couldn't blame her. Luella poked me. "If they wanted a dog," she said, "they could just go to animal rescue. That's where we got our dog." That might be okay for Luella, but I didn't think the animal rescue people would give the herdmans a rescued goldfish, let alone a whole dog, and the herdmans probably knew it. Maybe they even went there and said, "We want a dog," and the animal rescue said, "Not on your life." So then I guess they just looked around and said, "Okay, Claude, you be the dog." And then Claude was the dog till he got tired of it, or they got tired of it. You had to wonder what he did when he was the dog. Bite people, maybe? Except they had Gladys to do that. Boomer Malone thought he might bark and guard the house. "From what?" I said. Boomer shrugged. "I don't know. Robbers?" "Boomer, who are the main robbers around here?" "Oh, yeah," he nodded. "They are." Kids who didn't have dogs thought he might be calm whenever somebody called him, or sit up and beg, or roll over, or fetch papers. Kids who did have dogs said their dogs and to get in and bark to get out, and chase cars, and swiped food off the table, and tore up the neighbor's trash, and all these things sounded more like Claude. You could see, though, how he would get tired of it. "He probably got tired from being on a leash," Alice said. "Not like some people I know." She meant Howard. Alice had already told Luella what she thought about Howard. "I tried to teach your little brother to read," she said, "so he would be ready for kindergarten, like I was. But I don't think they'll ever let him in kindergarten. He's pretty dumb." "He's too little to be dumb," Luella grumbled. "If you want to teach him something, you could teach him to go to the bathroom." Well, I knew that wouldn't happen because Alice wouldn't even say bathroom. It's a good thing you can just raise your hand to be excused, because if Alice had to say where she was going, she would never go. And I don't know what would happen to her. Dumb or not, Howard was okay for a little kid stuck in the 6th grade. He had lots of paper and crayons and little boxes of cereal to eat, and different people brought him different things to play with and look at. Alice showed up with great big pieces of cardboard that said A and B and C. But Howard didn't like those much. He scribbled all over them, which Alice said just proves how dumb he was, and that he didn't even recognize the alphabet. "He'll never get into kindergarten," she said. To hear Alice, you would think getting into kindergarten was better than getting into heaven, and a whole lot harder. "They'll never let him in with that," she said. And the first time she saw Howard's blanket. And for once, you had to think she might be right. Howard's blanket was gross. Luella said it used to be blue and it used to have bunnies on it, but now it just looked like my father's car wash rag. "He has to have it," Luella said. "If he didn't have his blanket, Miss Camp would probably have to throw him out. If he doesn't have his blanket, he cries and yells and jumps up and down. If he still doesn't have his blanket, he holds his breath and he turns purple." Right away, Boomer Malone scooped up the blanket and sat on it, which would have caused a big argument, except for everybody wanted to see Howard turn purple. It was recess, and there was already a bunch of kids gathered around Howard at one end of the playground. And naturally, more kids came to see what was going on. And by the time Howard quit hollering and began to hold his breath, half the Woodrow Wilson School was there, trying to see over and around people. "What's he doing?" I heard someone say. "Is he purple yet?" He wasn't. I don't think he would live to be purple, with his eyes popping out and his little head veins sticking out. Luella, I said, do something. He's going to explode. No, he won't, she said. He never does. He can't explode from holding your breath. It's a scientific fact. He won't even pass out. You'll see. In fact, I didn't want to see. What if Luella was wrong? But it didn't matter anyway, because all of a sudden, Imogene Herdman charged up and shoving kids out of the way right and left and began to pound on Luella. You said he would turn purple, she said. Look at him. He's not purple. I can't stand around here all waiting all day for him to turn purple. Here, kid. She threw Howard his blanket, and Howard let off his big loud, shuddery sob. And the whole big crowd of kids just grumbled to Luella as if it was her fault. I should just take his blanket away, Luella said, and let everybody look at him, and that would be that. But as far as I know, he never had to hold his breath 2 times so close together. And I don't know what it'll do to him. I thought it would probably kill him, so I was glad she didn't do it. But I know plenty of kids who would do it if they got the chance. My mother said it better not be me or Charlie if we knew what was good for us. That poor child has been scrubbed on with scouring powder. He's been bald and shiny-headed, and now that he's got hair, it looks like somebody planted it. Isn't that enough for one little boy? Either Imogene agreed with my mother, or else she had plans to exhibit Howard at some later date. See the amazing purple baby, 25 cents, and didn't want him used up. From then on, she kept one eye on Howard and the other eye on his blanket. And when Wesley Potter tried to snatch Howard's blanket, he never knew what hit him. Imogene smacked Wesley flat and then stood up and held him up by the ears and said, You leave that blanket alone, and you leave that kid alone, or I'll wrap your whole head in chewing gum so tight that I have to peel it off along with all your hair and your eyebrows and your lip skin and everything. Well, that took care of Wesley and everybody else who heard it, but it made Luella nervous. Why is she being nice to Howard? Luella said. Why did she give his blanket back? That's twice she's gotten Howard's blanket back. Why? I didn't know why, but I knew she wouldn't have to do it again, because nobody wants to go through life wrapped in gum or skin bald, and that would be your choice. Maybe she likes him, I said. Why would she like him? Luella said. I don't even like him, and he's my brother. But that's normal, I said. I'm not crazy about Charlie either. And if Howard was somebody else's brother, you'd like him. I like him. There's nothing not to like unless he is your brother. And then you have to bring him to school and watch out for him and keep a leash and all. Keep him on a leash, Luella repeated. Remember what Imogene said? They kept Claude on a leash because they didn't have a dog? So? Well, they still don't have a dog, and here's Howard already on a leash. Luella squealed, Imogene is going to make him be their dog, and my mother will kill me. Come on, Luella. I said you can't make a person be a dog. They could pretend Howard is their dog, but just look at Howard. She said he'll pretend to be anything that Imogene wants him to be. And this was true. Howard was hugging his blanket and feeling his one favorite corner, which was even rattier than the rest of the blanket, looking at Imogene the way that you would look at the tooth fairy, handing out $10 for each tooth. She'll feed him dog biscuits and teach him to bite, Luella moaned. Maybe he'll bite Gladys, I said. And there's nothing wrong with dog biscuits. Everybody eats dog biscuits at least once to see what they taste like. I personally don't care for them, but when Charlie was little, he was crazy for this brand called Puppy Pleasers. I once asked him how they tasted, and he knew exactly. If you take a chocolate bar to the beach, he said, and you put it in the sand and you let it melt, and then you pick up the melted chocolate bar in the sand and you stick it in the freezer, that's when it's frozen and you bust it up into little pieces. That's how Puppy Pleasers taste. At the time, I thought Charlie would either die of grit and sand, or slowly turn from sand to the feet up. And I don't know what we would do with him. Stand him up in the backyard maybe, or plant flowers around him. I don't know what the Herdmans would do with their dog, Howard, either. Whenever Charlie and I asked for a dog, my mother always said, "What are you going to do with him?" And we never knew what to say. We thought the dog would do it all, and we would just hang around and watch. Mother said that's exactly what she thought we would say. "When you find a dog that's smart enough to take care of itself and let itself in and out of the house and answer the phone, let me know," she said. Luella said we would have to watch Imogene, or else she'll try to run off with Howard and take him home and name him some dog name like Rover or Spot. Luckily, she never got the chance. Mrs. McCluskey got her wires crossed at the telephone company and shut down the whole system for a half an hour. She never knew a thing like that could happen, she said. It made her so nervous that she quit her job right on the spot. And after that, Luella didn't have to bring Howard to school anymore. This was a big relief for Luella, and you could tell it made Miss Kemp happy too. But she gave a little speech anyway, how we would miss Howard, and how he would be a big part of our 6th grade experience, and how we would always remember him. "Sounds like he died," Imogene muttered. She was mad, I thought, because of wasting all of her good deeds, giving Howard's blanket back and making kids leave him alone, and then not getting anything for it, like a substitute dog if that's what she wanted. "There is one thing," Miss Kemp went on. "It seems Howard went off without his blanket. Has anyone seen Howard's blanket?" No one had. Or else no one would admit they had, not with Imogene sitting there blowing this huge bubble of gum in and out, ready to park it on anyone who looked guilty. Because Imogene would get straight. Whoop. It's too bad you couldn't study bubblegum and get graded for it, because Imogene would get straight A's. Her bubbles were so big and so thin. You could see her whole face through the bubble. It was like looking at somebody through their own skin. "What if we can't find it?" I asked Luella. "We better find it," she said, "or else Howard will go crazy. All he does is sob and cry and hold his breath and hiccup." He'd also turned purple, she said, and almost passed out. So if you figure that if somebody didn't turn up with Howard's blanket soon, he would never make it to next week, let alone kindergarten. We looked for the blanket off and on for the rest of that day, although Alice said it'd be better if we didn't find it. "It's so old and terrible and horrible and full of germs," she said, and she told Luella, "You should be glad it's lost. Howard will thank you someday." This is what your mother says when she makes you wear ugly shoes. She says, "This will give your toes room to grow, and you'll thank me someday." Hearing Alice say things like this make you want to squirt her with canned cheese. Even Kemp does, I think, because she said, "Alice, I can assure you that by the time Howard gets to someday, he won't even remember the blanket." Somebody muttered, "Don't be so sure." Imogene. That was good news the next day. Howard had lived through the night without going crazy or purple. And even better news when Imogene showed up with his blanket. She said she found it at the bus stop under a bush. Nobody believed this. The Herdmans stole everything that wasn't nailed down, just out of habit. Why not Howard's blanket? But so what, Luella said, as long as Imogene brought it back. The next day, the art teacher, Miss Harrison, stopped Luella in the hall and gave her a bunch of stubby crayons for Howard. "I just heard about your little brother's blanket," she said. "Luella, you're not going to find it because I threw it away. The last time we had an art project, I used it to wipe the pastels off of the chalkboard, and then I just threw it away. I'm really sorry, but I didn't know it was Howard's blanket. It looked like my car washing rag." Luella shook her head. "We found Howard's blanket." Miss Harrison shook her head. "No, you're just saying that to make me feel better. No, As soon as I heard it was me, I knew what I had done and where I had gone. In the trash. She's wrong, Luella said. Maybe you're wrong, I said. Luella thought for a moment. Well, Howard wouldn't be wrong, and he thinks it's his blanket. You can't get it away from him. We did get it away from him, but we had to wait till he was asleep. Then we had to unfasten his fingers and quickly give him this old, worn-out bathrobe of Luella's. See, Luella said, it's the same blanket. It certainly looked like the same blanket. Old, faded, sort of dirty gray, with one corner that was especially old and faded and dirty gray. There was something else too, a capital H, scribbled and wobbly, almost faded out. See, it even has his initial on it, I said, H for Howard. Luella said, there's no initial on Howard's blanket. I started to show her the H, and then I saw the other initial. It was an I. I-H. There was only one I-H in the entire Woodrow Wilson School. Imogene Herdman. Luella, I said, Imogene didn't find his blanket underneath a bush or anywhere. This was her own blanket. Luella refused to believe this, and you couldn't blame her. It was hard enough just to imagine that Imogene ever was a baby, let alone a baby that had her own blanket to drag around and hug on to. Besides, Luella said, if it was hers, she wouldn't give it away. The Herdmans never gave anything away in their whole life. But what about the initials, I said. Those aren't really initials, Luella said. I think they're just what's left of the bunny pattern. I guess Luella believed this, but I knew better. They were Imogene Herdman's initials, all right, and this was Imogene's blanket. Maybe somebody took it away from her when she was a baby. Maybe she yelled and held her breath and turned purple. So she would know exactly how Howard felt. She would be sympathetic. I could hardly wait to write this down in my compliments for classmates page in my notebook. But it looked too weird. Imogene Herdman, sympathetic. Nobody would believe this, and I would have to explain it. And Imogene would probably wrap my head in chewing gum if I told everyone that she once had a blanket with a favorite chewed corner and everything. So that's the end of that chapter. I really like that chapter. We kind of see that, you know, Imogene really, she has a heart, doesn't she? And she cares. She's really rough on the outside, so she doesn't want anybody to know. She didn't come and say, here's my old blanket, you take it. You know, she never said that. But I just thought it was really sweet of her. And sometimes you have to look at point of view from other people and how they're living their life too, you know. And I like that chapter. And I'm glad that Imogene had some thoughtfulness or some sympathetic, or she had some sort of feeling in there that she wanted to help out Howard. So I always thought it was really sweet. So again, if for whatever reason you end up missing, make sure that you bookmark this page. Make sure you bookmark this page, okay? So we have, this way you can always go back. It takes me just a little bit, about a little less than an hour or so to get it all up on Facebook, on YouTube. But once you go back, you can see it. It won't have the little comments on the side. It won't have the little comments on the side, but you will be able to see, you will be able to hear everything. So with that, we are going to have our dance party. So stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. It's time to move. It's time for the party. If I can get this pulled up, we're going to celebrate. Woo, woo, woo. We're going to celebrate. Woo, woo, woo. We're going to celebrate reading. We're going to celebrate being in each other's lives and how much I love you and care about you, and I pray about you guys a lot. And we're going to celebrate the fact that we can go make a difference in the world. So remember, You're supposed to go out there and make a difference, and maybe take some pictures and tell me about it. So here we have, it's called Reading Celebration. And there's words, you can sing along, guys.
Last throughout the years. So bring your good books and your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate this reading with you. Come on down. Let's all celebrate and have a good time. We're gonna celebrate and have a good time. It's time to come together to celebrate this reading treasure. Everyone around the world, come on!
Let's jam it, people. Come on, let's dance it.
Have a good time today. Let's celebrate. It's okay.
Come on, guys, sing.
We're gonna have a good time today.
Let's celebrate. It's okay.
We're gonna have a good time today. Let's celebrate. Okay. We're gonna have a good time today. Celebrate. It's okay.
Come on now. Okay, now let's just have the girls sing. Okay, here comes the girls part. Okay, boys, this is your part. Here we go. Okay, now girls, this is your part. Okay, let's get pre-K, kindergarten, first grade. Okay, let's get third, fourth, and fifth. Everybody together. Everyone together. Get moms and dads. Alumni. Awesome, awesome. And these fun songs are also on my playlist on YouTube, so you can go and check those out. And if you want to listen to them again, it's just kind of a little extra fun thing. So again, I just want to thank everybody for being part of our lives and having fun. And let's close. Big ending. Have a great day, you guys. Miss you, love you, and I will see you soon. Take care.